Love. That's the nothing personal word of the day. It is Monday, September 29th, 2025. And love is all that is on my mind. Thank you. I've been gone for 2 weeks as my family has been dealing with a critical situation. I have a daughter who is seriously ill, and it came out of nowhere. And I have been spending the last 2 weeks trying to figure out how to do the only thing that matters, which is to take care of her and my other children and my family. And I've made a promise to you all that you've been with me for all these years that I would not in any way lie to you. I would not in any way mislead you. I would not in any way do anything to break the trust that we've built together over all these years, where you know you're going to get it from me straight. And I wasn't ready. That's the bottom line. I wasn't ready to talk about it. I wasn't ready to think about it other than to do what was in front of me, which was to figure out how to deal with something that is unthinkable, unimaginable, can't be happening. And you open your eyes 24 hours a day and it happens. It's in front of you. There's nothing you can do. There's no escape from the nightmare of a life changing in the blink of an eye. And that's what happened. It started after our show, our last show on Friday, September 12th. I got a phone call, and it's the type of phone call that you just don't think you're ever going to get. And then all of a sudden it happens, and there is life before the phone call and life after the phone call, and there is never going back. You cannot go back. You figure out what a new normal can be. You figure it out as quickly as you can when you are surrounded by a sea of verbiage that you don't understand, scared to your core, trying to gain control of a situation that is not able to be controlled by anyone under any scenario. You hang on tight to the people you love, to the people you think who love you, to the people who end up loving you, and the people who you realize that what we do for work, and it's the ultimate joke, is that work to me always defined me. Always. It had nothing to do with this show or baseball or running a team or Wall Street or anything I've ever done. That's how I was when I was in school, that whatever I was doing defined me. It turns out it was all just wrong. Turns out what defines me is trying to help and protect the people who I love more than anything in the world. And it doesn't matter the characters you play. It doesn't matter the things that you say, whether it's joking or not joking. The reality is that when you have a child, whether I'm a good dad or not a good dad is not relevant. I'm talking about the amount of love, the amount of desire you have for that child to be able to have a life that they want, to accomplish the things they want. The speeches I've given saying that kids should be able to have everything they want, and I'm not talking about material things. I'm talking about kids who have a desire to be in sports, who have a desire to be in entertainment, who have a desire to be on the couch, the ability to make choices. It's what we talk about always on this show. Live and let live. Have the ability to manifest your own destiny, to control that which you want to control. And then all of a sudden a phone call comes and it's done. There is no more controlling. There are a few people I need to let you know about, because when someone gets sick, all of a sudden you don't know how to get them better, because it's not, oh, chicken soup or throat lozenges or all the funny things that a Jewish hypochondriac like me does, dipping your head in a steam shower and wrapping yourself in a towel and all the stupid stuff I do, trying to get better from sicknesses that I never have, but only think I do. When you are in a hospital and your child is there, all you can hope for is that it's the best possible care from people who are doing a job where you are just another name on a board. The people at Northwestern Memorial are, I don't know how to express, there's not another job out there. I was thinking about firemen or EMT, first responders, police, just people who you just depend on. But there are people who say, oh, don't need the police. I can do it myself. You can't. People say, oh, I know how to put out a fire. You can do that yourself. Well, you really can't. There's certain things that I promise you can't do. And I'm not even talking about understanding the healthcare system and figuring out how to speak a language that prior to September 13th, it didn't even occur to me I had to learn. The people at Northwestern Memorial, you know who you are. I don't think they ever watched the show, though some of them, while I was there, did, Coca, surprisingly tell me that they did enjoy the show, but that seems to me that's something they would say to any father of a child trying to find a way to get their mind off of what is impossible to not think about at all times. Trying to coordinate getting my daughter then from Chicago back to New York was a hellscape, aided by tremendously helpful people, including people in baseball who I counted on. It's a funny thing, Coca, what you do when you have trouble, real trouble. Everything else washes away. All of the parts of the show or all the parts of competing with people for 18 seasons hard. All of the moments where you have talked about things on the show where you've had issues or contemplated things that could have gone better for a team or for an individual. And it's turns out that it is nothing personal, because when there's something personal, when there's an emergency, the people who step up to help the way you would if you were called by someone who you knew, someone you worked with, someone you liked, loved, didn't like, hated, if you were called and were presented with an issue with what I was dealing with, what my family was dealing with, it's not a question of I'm busy. It's a question of what can I do, and I will do it now. And being able to formulate even a complete sentence has been hard for me for the past 2 weeks, but being able to formulate how to ask for help, and I'm a person who doesn't ask for help. That's been me. I'm fine. I can take care of everything because I control everything. So why would I need help? I don't need your help in telling me how to control what I know I want the result to be. I'm in a situation now where I know what I need the result to be, and I can't do a goddamn thing about it. Not one. Can I help who brings dinners and who supports who and what therapists I'm going to and other people are going to and who you're talking to about what, how you're dealing with what you're dealing with? None of that feels like control. I am the definition of Hans Gruber flailing off the building, completely out of control. And you all know that because you know me and you know that that's not how I am. I don't know how to not be in control. I don't know how to have control. And now I'm in something where I don't know the exit. I don't have a pathway. I don't understand how to take back the control that I want. Reading everything that I've read about what I had to learn about, which I don't want to learn about and I shouldn't learn about, and they tell you don't learn about it, but then you do learn about it because you can't sleep, because opening your eyes just opens your eyes to a nightmare that you're in that you can't escape. Having in the back of my head knowing that I've got people who I am responsible for, and that includes you all. I appreciate that every morning you want to hear what's happening, and the jarring nature of not happening. This doesn't make me indispensable. Believe me, I've learned. I am not indispensable. To Coca, to Jack, to the people at Metalark and DraftKings, all of whom said a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, forever, whatever it is that you need. I didn't know the right amount of time. I didn't know how I'd feel. Last night, I almost called Coca. right around the end of the football game saying, nope, I can't do a show today. I had in the back of my head people who I've spoken to in the industry. I want to thank, it's hard to specifically name people, but you know who you are. But Dan and Pablo and Michael Davies and others who have just said, you have to do what you think is right, but you know that the show must go on. I don't know that. I don't even know what that means anymore. I don't know how to I don't know how to bring any normalcy to my life and the life of my family, which is now completely upside down, adjusting to a new normal, trying to figure out how quickly can we get through hell? How do you get through hell? I guess you keep going. I don't know. I don't know anything. It is amazing because the whole show is premised on me knowing stuff and giving you inside information, not like Pablo, not like investigative journalists or real journalists. I'm talking about the fact that I can examine a situation, I can break it down in ways that you understand. And I've been asking doctors for 2 weeks, how do I break this down so I can understand what is happening to my child? How can I figure out a way to make sense of something that is nonsensical, to make sense of a math equation that I can't do in my head, and I can do any math equation in my head and get to an answer and be right or wrong. That's the beauty of math. When you're wrong, you do it again until you're right. I've been sitting here doing math since September 12th, and I can't get it right. I can't figure out the way. So it makes me continue to be dependent on others and the people at NYU Langone right now. I don't know how I'd be able to do even one step in front of the other without you and what you are doing to be helpful and to try to be helpful as a journey starts with an undetermined end, because you don't know how any journey ends. And it's funny because that has always been my other principle, is that I know where I'm going before I start. I'm like Wachtell Lipton investigating the NFL. I know where I'm going to end. I just have to figure out how to get there. That's always been the plan. I keep thinking about Don Cheadle and The Family Man with Nicolas Cage. Well, you've got a new plan now. And that's the truth. I have a new plan now. My new plan is to figure out one day at a time. I don't know that I'll be able to do a show every day, even though that's my job. I don't know that I'll be able to do a show that you'll want to listen to every day, though that's been my job, and you've shown that we've done it well here. I don't know. The scariest thing that I'm going through right now, and it's nothing compared to what my daughter is going through, but the scariest thing, and my other children and the mother, and who's my ex, who is there is obviously a level of love that will always be there. And when things happen, no matter what, you are a dad, you are a mom, you are a parent. It is more permanent than a tattoo, I promise you that, though I love my tattoos. But the fact is that as a parent, you do everything you can to protect your child. Everything. I would do anything. It doesn't mean that I've done it right. It doesn't mean that I've been a good, none of it means anything. But when something happens where there is no way to protect, there's no way to do anything other than logistics, other than trying to provide support for other people in your family who are trying to figure out what the hell's going on, other than trying to act a certain way. Do I laugh? I broke my streak, Coca. I haven't watched a movie since September 12th. I used to watch a movie every day. I went out to dinner. I went for a drink one time in the last 2 weeks and trying to put on a smile, and I could not. I'm always comfortable where I am. I love where I am. That's always been my thing. I love what I do. I love wherever I am because I have the freedom to choose to do what I want to do. I love being out. I love being in. I love watching a movie. I love watching sports. I love reading. I love doing so many things. And it's ripped away now. Because the only thing I love is them, is the kids, and trying to figure out how do I how do I possibly, I don't know. So here's the plan. A man with a plan that is an unthinkable plan, an unachievable plan. My plan is that I will promise to continue to let you know what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking, the frustrations that I'm having, the anger, the sadness, the despair, the wonderment, the questioning. I enjoyed being approached by both a rabbi and a priest in where I was and saying, hey, how about a prayer? I said, okay. How about, are we praying to the same person who put my daughter in this situation? We're now praying for the recovery to the same person, I said. Interesting question, it was told to me. I said, I'm not that interested in your answer, and I just politely walked away. I'm not interested in that answer. I'm sure everyone has an answer. I just didn't want one at that time. I don't even ask questions I don't have an answer to. Even sometimes the answers I have to learn something or read something, but I have a path. But the promise I make to you is I won't hide anything, how I'm feeling, what's happening. You're owed that. You give me your time every day, 5 days a week, since June, 2 hours a day. On the other hand, I have to balance the privacy and the respect of my family. Everybody navigating the uncharted territory navigates it at different paces, navigates it in different ways, and you have to balance all that. And I have a debt to you. I have a debt to the sponsors. I have a debt to Meadowlark, to DraftKings, to all the people who work on the show. But I have a responsibility to my kids and to my family, and I won't let them down. Although this whole beginning of the show may have let them down. That's another interesting part that's in my head, Coca. I have no way of actually knowing anything. We're doing this show live. We don't have a script. It wasn't approved. I couldn't think of how to talk about anything, including when the intro was being played. And I'm not even looking at my phone in case I'm being called to say stop. What I have to do now is figure out each day how to try to make that day be a forward motion for her, for my daughter, for my family. I need to figure out each day how to do something I didn't do the day before to try to impact an outcome that seems uncertain in a way that sometimes certainty can. Trying to figure out a way to move forward while understanding that normal is gone. Everything about my life pre-September 12th has gone. I have a different life now. I've been with my daughter every day, and if you're not watching this on YouTube, you don't know, but I have a bit of a beard. She loves touching my beard. I may grow it out to be like Letterman if I'm lucky enough, but I don't see myself changing it, Coca. Each day I'm going to go through and try. That's all I can do because I've thought of the other, believe me, I've thought of all the solutions. I am starting and have been talking to therapists. Can you imagine there's a therapist whose job is to speak solely to parents of sick children? I give them credit for wanting to do that for a living. I don't know how that works. I don't know where the pleasure is. Maybe in being helpful in a matter of inches instead of yards or feet. Maybe incremental ability to handle every day, which I don't have. I'm not even close to that. None of us is close to that. But each day, the sun comes up and you can't stop it. You can ignore it. You can sit in the dark. You can go into the depths of a depression or the depths of a why me in a way that you never thought that you ever would. And then you realize you're not even saying why me, you're saying why her, why them. And you can't answer it. So everywhere I went, I was like in a corn maze, Coca, where I couldn't get out. I'm still there. I can't get out. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do anything other than try to figure out what to do. And that's never been me. So I am confused. I am angry. I'm hurt. I'm sad. I'm not hungry. I'm not tired, but I don't eat. I don't sleep. Sleeping is not smart to do in situations like this because when you wake up, you're still in a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. Why fall asleep if you know you're going to have a nightmare? That doesn't seem to make much sense. So we're going to go back and we're going to talk every day about sports and about business and about culture and about politics and about entertainment. I'm going to find a way to watch a movie today. I don't know how I'll have time. A shout out, please, to the drivers for paying attention to cyclists in New York City as I've been biking back and forth to a hospital every day, several times a day. Please pay attention. Although I could argue, what are the odds of me getting run over? Since I've already... That'd be something, wouldn't it, Coca? I guess you... Anyway. Okay. Don't even edit that out. I don't know what that was. That was me in my head. I've been doing that a lot recently because I haven't had the microphone. So I've been having conversations inside my head. And my show is all about having conversations outside my head. And having you hear the conversations that I'm actually having inside my head. Except I haven't done a show, haven't figured out how to do a show. So I'm having the same conversations. They're just quiet. So what you just witnessed there, which we won't edit because we don't edit, is that I had it again. Someone said to me, "Oh, you do the show, David, do the show because you can get a reprieve. You deserve to have a 2-hour reprieve every day." Why? I said. Why would I deserve that? I didn't do anything to deserve anything positive at all. I'm doing something trying to stop the ultimate negative where I would be Michael Clark Duncan if I could, but it hasn't worked so far, Coca. And it's not that there's a picture in front of me. It's not anything other than I keep covering my phone because all I would be doing would be looking for updates, looking for some sort of text or something. All right, Coca. I want to thank you, Coca, and just you don't realize what you've meant these last couple of weeks where we've spoken, and you have been just, I love you, man. Thank you. We will, we're gonna do a show. We will do a show, and we will continue to do shows, Coca, because thank you for being here. I guess the audience will tell us if they want to hear shows, if they want to hear about what's going on in baseball, they want to hear what's going on in football. It's a busy time, ironically, and I will try to entertain in a way that I had when I feel in my soul, in literally down in my pupik, that the thought of being entertaining, how could anyone look at me or hear my voice and say, well, that's an entertaining voice? I don't want to be looked at with pity. I don't want to be looked at with sorrow. I don't want to be looked at with horror, with shame. Love. How about love? How about looked at with love? So many of the comments we've gotten from audience members on X, on Instagram, so much love that It was surprising to several of the people at Meadowlark, that's for sure. But what do they know, actually? Ironically. But thank you for that. Don't stop, because I'm in the first inning of a journey that I don't know. I don't know where it goes. I don't know how it goes, but I just know that I can't do it without you. And whoever you want to define as you, you should. If you think you don't know me, I read what you write. If you think you know me, I think about what you do, what you think about, what you pray for. The love that you show, that's the only currency. It's the only gas. It's the only energy that I have, because everything else is tapped out. Everything else is tapped out. And I never required love to fill any tank of mine at all. It's a funny irony of the last 2 weeks. Never needed it. And now I can't live without it. All right, Coca. I don't know. Here we go. 4869. How does a game end in a tie? It's the last thing I want to. It is so unsatisfying. All I'm used to is winning and losing. That's what sports is. That's what life is, isn't it? Ironically, you win or you lose. I'm not a fan of the participation trophy. I'm not a fan of the, hey, good try. I'm really not a fan of NFL ties. I don't want to watch a game and then have it end 40-40. That's redundant. I could have just said end at 40. By definition, a tie is 40-40. I was looking forward to this game, and then I wasn't looking forward to any games, and I lost track of everything for weeks. And instead of trying to catch up on everything, I just pretended I had been in a void. And I remembered that week 4 was the Cowboys and the Packers, was the return of Micah to Dallas, Micah Parsons, who we've talked about so much on this show. And I knew that Jerry Jones would do something that would provide me with something to talk about. And God, he never misses an opportunity to have an opportunity. We know this. He loves being public. He loves the publicity. He said last night, he was talking about the game. Dak Prescott had a great game. The Cowboys offense is outstanding. Good for Jerry. The GM built a great offense. The Cowboys defense is really bad. I'm not sure that Micah Parsons makes the difference, but now we get to say he does because Micah's on the Packers. But the Cowboys are giving up as many yards as they're getting from scrimmage. It's over 400 both ways. Dak had an incredible game, but they didn't win the game. They're 1-2-1. And Jerry Jones said, I got to tell you, the reason I paid Dak and not Micah, he said, it's very simple. This is a quote from Jerry Jones. It's very simple. Dak was indispensable in my mind, and Micah wasn't. Well, hallelujah, Jerry. You got it. That's what a GM does. I am not criticizing Jerry Jones for that quote. I am embracing it with love, because that's the most GM quote that you should have and want as a fan of a team. You may not agree. You may learn that it turns out to be wrong, but at least you've got the thought process of your general manager. And the owner then is supposed to look at the thought process of that general manager and then decide whether he agrees with that thought process. Of course, as president of a team, you play the results instead of the process. Even though we always say we play the process, we're not. We're playing the results, which is bad, but that's what everybody does. It's totally natural. So when Jerry looks at the results, he says, as GM, I can't have everything. I can't sign everybody. We're in a salary cap world. It wouldn't surprise me that Jerry Jones would speak to Hal Steinbrenner and say, hey, when you lose Juan Soto and then you split it up to Max Fried and Paul Goldschmidt and Devin Williams. Do you agree with that? Do you like what happened? And we'll talk about the Yankee season and baseball next hour or after this. I'm not sure which, but Jerry Jones's decision to let Micah go, to trade him eventually because he could not agree to pay him what he wanted, and then to watch his team play the way it did, that's how the business and the game of sports goes. Last night was the most ordinary Cowboys-Packers game ever, even though it made history by the highest scoring tie game. Everyone's looking for Micah Parsons to say something or do something. And I knew going into that game, that's not how it really works when players get traded. You think there's all this emotion. You think there's all this, oh, is there a tribute or not? Or what's he going to do? Is he going to walk to the wrong clubhouse? Micah Parsons had a fine game. He was fine. 3 tackles, hit the quarterback 3 times, sacked. That was, I believe, in overtime, if I'm remembering correctly. Big sack in overtime. He said, honestly, I think all in all, the emotions for me being in Dallas went away the moment they traded me. That was Micah's quote, and that is a true quote. There's one player I can remember over the last many, many years. Freddie Freeman, who happens to be just a great, great guy and a quality player, trying to win his 3rd World Series this October. When he came back to Atlanta after signing with Los Angeles, thinking that he didn't have an opportunity to re-sign with Atlanta, his home, he was very emotional in his return. And I felt that, though I don't know that I understood it. Micah came back and said, emotion? Why would I have emotion? Like, they traded me, see you later, on to the next. Jerry Jones? Why would I talk to Jerry Jones? When players get moved, there is an emotion. Listen, I still haven't spoken to Mark Burley since 2012. There is emotion that happens with the trade, but it is very rare. The way more common thing is what Micah Parsons is doing, where he goes to a new team and all of a sudden he's bleeding green and yellow. He forgets about silver and blue, forgets about Jerry Jones, and just moves on. Micah Parsons gave a little to Jerry last night. He couldn't tell me as a man about the trade, so to me, that emotion's gone. It was more about a respect factor at this point. All right. Side note to all players out there listening, former players, current players, and I know you are. It's nice of us to tell you you've been traded. I grant you, it's not part of the CBA. We're not required to. Do I think it's better to communicate? For sure. Did I communicate with players and say, hey, you're going to be traded, you might be traded, you've been traded? Did I do it 100%? No, it's impossible to do in this age of media and money and scoops and leaks. But malice is not the intention of ownership or president who doesn't speak to a player. It doesn't occur to me that Jerry Jones has malice toward Micah. He had pragmatism toward Micah. He had a decision he had to make. It doesn't occur to me when Freddie Freeman signs as a free agent with the Dodgers that he had or had not gotten an offer from the Braves, or he wanted to be a Brave, he didn't want to be a Brave, he'd be emotional as return to the Braves. None of that occurs to you when you're an executive. What's occurring to you is, here's our payroll. How do we make it fit? Here's what we think a player should be allocated. Will they accept it? There's myriad reasons why teams sign players or trade players or release players. Not all of those reasons end up being right, but all the reasons are sound when they happen. And I am not carrying the water for Jerry Jones, for crying out loud, nor am I carrying the water for executives or owners or anti-player sentiment. That is not right. I am just here to tell you realistically, What's in Jerry Jones's mind is, here's my decision. I believe I've made the right decision, and now we'll see. Do I think Jerry Jones is rooting for the Packers to lose? You bet your bottom dollar. The football situation in New York. Boy, could it be better, huh? The Jets and Giants were 0-6. The Giants won yesterday, Coca. There's a brand new quarterback in town, and his name is Dart. And I totally forgot his first name. That's unreal. I wanted to say it, Coca. What is it? Is it Jackson Dart? That doesn't sound right. It is? All right, let me do that again. 4869. There's a new quarterback in New York, and his name is Dart. Jackson Dart. Good old Russell Wilson got benched, didn't get released, didn't get traded, just got benched. And now he is being the anti-Aaron Rodgers and saying, oh, of course I'll mentor. I'm happy to mentor because he's a good guy. Why wouldn't he mentor? And he does realize that he was not playing well enough to keep his job. He was lucky enough to get a job. It's hard to imagine the Giants actually thought that he would do the job. Amazing to me that they signed him to begin with, but I digress. The Giants have a win. The Jets could win tonight. That'd be 2-6, up from 0-6. But the story that I've been thinking about is all of the injuries that keep taking place at MetLife, at that new stadium, after they took a wrecking ball to Old Giant Stadium and got a song out of it by Bruce Springsteen. Well, there was another injury. Did you see that Malik Nabers may have torn his ACL? It's the same field where Aaron Rodgers tore his ACL. It's the same field where all of these players, there's like a list of players, visiting players, home players who keep getting hurt on the turf at MetLife. And people are saying, how can that be? Rodgers' Achilles, what did I say, Coca? ACL, I meant Achilles. If I thought I was making mistakes earlier, wait till you hear me now, folks, as I can't put 3 sentences together to make a paragraph. So I was thinking about how this turf happens and why, and how everybody's blaming the turf. Coca telling me he can't stand MetLife Stadium, thinks it's a piece of crap. It really is not a great stadium, there's no question. When we went around touring stadiums before building Marlins Park, we toured football stadiums, we toured baseball stadiums, we even toured arenas, NBA arenas. We were trying to figure out best practices, what to do, how to do it. It was never a question whether we'd have grass. What was a question is dealing with sun studies and figuring out how to take care of the grass, knowing you'd have 81 games on the grass minimum, plus exhibition, plus postseason, you'd hope. Marlins Park opened in 2012, and they've moved to turf because the reality is that taking care of grass is way harder than you think. There are stadiums who have figured it out, like at University of Arizona Stadium in Glendale, where they literally roll out the entire field into the parking lot. I think Real Madrid lowers it into the ground into a pre-built irrigation system with some sort of lights. We had these sunlight beams that we would bring into Marlins Park and put on the outfield, and so we'd pretend it was sunny at certain times when it wasn't sunny, and we'd have an irrigation plan of what time we'd water and when. We'd mow it at a certain time, and then Ichiro would tell us to remow it. That's a true story. You know what, though? It's super expensive. And there may be a thought like, oh, what's the difference? Well, when you're trying to book events and you put into the cost of the event resodding the entire field, oh, that's another 50 grand on top or 100 grand on top every time you do an event. And if you don't resod it, the field looks like crap and then gets criticized when you have to spray paint it green and the camera says, wait a minute, we're high def enough to see that's not grass. And then you walk the field before a game and you realize that you're walking on rock and that you're asking a player to dive on it like it's the old artificial turf where you're diving on concrete, and you realize the grass is just concrete. And then you realize that you have to find another solution. And that's what MetLife did. They tried to find a way. Now, is it a coincidence? Is it true that Odell Beckham is right, that he thinks that all of the injuries are happening and that MLB, that NFL is not paying attention to health and safety because this turf exists and all these players are getting hurt? And legally, I can tell you, good luck to try to prove causation. Coincidence? Unfortunate circumstance? Happenstance? But to prove negligence, to prove liability, NGTH, not going to happen. The NFL forcing teams to change their turf because of an injury rate, not going to happen. The World Cup can make grass. They can make whatever rule they want. They can make MetLife put grass in to have World Cup games, and it will not have one impact on what happens inside for the 17 NFL games that are played at MetLife every year. They simply will not be able to change it. So the question is, what do players do? And the answer is that until you have another decade, 2 decades, if not way bigger sample size, to actually prove that MetLife has a specific condition that is causing this, it would be the equivalent of me telling you that it was my good fortune, my life, my luck, everything good that's happened to me since the day I was born, that all got reversed on September 12th, and that there's some sort of relationship. We'll show him and them. They thought they had it good. We will paralyze them in their tracks, and then we'll see. How do you even come to that conclusion? The reason is that everybody needs an answer. Football players, fans, everybody's looking for an answer as to why the injuries are happening. You know what? Sometimes the answer is that there's no answer. And I can't fathom it. I can't deal with it. I don't want to think about that, except rationally, intellectually. It may be the only thing I know at this very moment about anything, is that sometimes there's not one thing you can do about a result. There is something you can control, though. I'd like to believe. I think you can control getting mugged. I still blame myself for the time that I got mugged in Boston on Commonwealth Avenue in 1986. I think about it. I used to think about it every day. I haven't thought about it in a couple weeks, but I was taking swim instruction because I wanted to be a water safety instructor and run the waterfront at my camp. So I had to take a class, and I was at Tufts University as a freshman, and I would go down to Boston, and it was in a whatever, good neighborhood, bad neighborhood, it doesn't matter. And I was walking to my car, which I'd borrowed from my freshman roommate. Thank you, Sunit. And I heard footsteps behind me, and I got tackled, and my winter coat got stolen off my back. And now whenever I hear footsteps behind me, the trauma of that, although I never thought to get therapy about that, maybe I'll add that to the list of what I'm currently doing. But every time there's footsteps behind me, that's all I think about. And it's not about, I was still the same 65 inches back then. Haven't grown or shrunk, I don't think. I don't think it's about size. I think that there's a way to avoid it. And then I realized there's not, because that's what people are saying. How could Skylar Thompson have gotten mugged in Dublin? How's that even possible that a football player could get mugged? Well, it's true. A backup quarterback, Skylar Thompson, the Steelers, they're in Dublin. They were playing the Vikings. Aaron Rodgers got the win yesterday. We'll get to Aaron Rodgers in a moment. But Skylar Thompson apparently got jumped and robbed Friday night in Dublin. The Steelers had to release a statement saying we're aware of the situation involving Skylar Thompson on Friday night in Dublin. We'll have no further comment at this time as we are working with NFL security to gather more information regarding the incident. Do better, Pittsburgh. Here's what you say when one of your players is internationally and gets mugged, because when we're at home or we're domestic, I'm not responsible for the guys. When we travel internationally, we have security. We are responsible. We have rules. That statement from the Steelers is what you say if someone gets mugged on the streets of New York when you're playing the Jets, or the streets of San Francisco when you're on the streets of Dublin playing an international game, the statement from the Steelers has to be, yeah, we were told that Skylar Thompson got jumped and robbed. I'll tell you that we have a security plan in place, and we don't know whether that security plan got breached. We don't know whether Skylar was with somebody, not with somebody. We know what they're supposed to be doing. We're looking into it right now. But to all other players, I assure you, everyone is safe. Now, I would assume that people walking down the street in Dublin did not know Skylar Thompson was Skylar Thompson. I would find that hard to believe unless it was a guy like in a purple people eater costume, which I didn't hear about or read about. If you're unhappy with the 9 o'clock games, I'm sorry. Get used to it. There's going to be more international games. We told you in our wait to see that Roger Goodell is getting greedy, and he's not stopping. Roger Goodell is going to have 17 international games sooner than you can say Jack Sprout. I don't know why I just said Jack Sprout, Coca. I really don't. And yes, Aaron Rodgers can complain all he wants. And boy, did he ever complain. He is something else, man. He was upset with the travel schedule. He wanted more time in Dublin. The guy takes 2 weeks to do Awan Keska. That's not what it's called. To do whatever that thing you do, which I'm thinking about doing, actually, Aaron. If you could forward me a number, because I would do anything to help my children. Anything. I shouldn't even make fun of it anymore, Coca. How can I make fun of Aaron Rodgers trying to do something to alter his mind when maybe his reality, I don't even know what he's going through. That's the crazy part. As I walk down the street now, Coca, and I look at everyone, or I'm on my bike looking at everyone saying, oh, I wonder, are they going through something? Should I just be nice and say, I love you? But that'd be weird. Should I just be courteous and respectful and realize that what I'm going through, maybe other people are going through? Although statistically, I don't think so, but certainly there are other people going through things that are horrid, scary, uncertain. How can we actually be mean to anybody? Can you imagine someone being mean to me right now? You'd have to be like an absolute monster, wouldn't you? I would think. I have no idea why I was just talking about that, Coca. I have no idea why that was just in my head. Aaron Rodgers is in. I don't even know. Were we talking about Aaron Rodgers? Talking about. The travel. He wanted to go to Dublin faster earlier. Couldn't you have just said to like Tomlin, hey man, I don't want to travel with the team because I want to drink Guinness? Why does Aaron Rodgers have to do stuff like that? Do you know for international travel, we get the itinerary in conjunction with baseball, and the players know the itinerary. And if we had a player say, hey, I want to take a jet and I want to take Aer Lingus and I want to go faster earlier, we'd figure out a way to deal with security. We'd figure out a way to get the room earlier and we'd do it. But to complain about it after, come on, Aaron, be better. That's the thing about complaining. I'm having a very hard time pondering that these days. People complaining about stuff that they can control. That's the interesting thing. Don't complain about something you control. Wait till you get into the position where you can't control one thing. Then I would think complaining is possible. I would think then you'd have the grounds to say, wow, what do I do now? Why? Aaron Rodgers, don't complain. I think that goes for the rest of us, including me. You're not going to hear me complain anymore, and I'll stick to it. Just like I'll stick to having a second hour where we can finally talk about the Mets right after the break. New York Mets will not be participating in the playoffs this year. And I can't say that I'm unhappy with the Marlins eliminating them again. It wasn't as big a highlight as winning the World Series or anything, but eliminating the Mets in '07 and '08, there was satisfaction that we got. When you're not going to be in the playoffs, it's sort of like misery loves company. You want everyone to suffer the way you're suffering. Sports related, that's for sure, only sports related. Last night, I was thinking about so many things. And one of them is what Steve Cohen was doing, because I thought back to the 17 closing days that I had where I didn't make the playoffs out of 18 years, and how you think about what's next. That you think about, you've spent an entire year pushing a boulder up a hill, step by step, trying to get to the top. And for 29 out of 30 teams, on your last day, the boulder comes crashing down, crushes you and the village at the bottom of the mountain. And then you spend the off season putting the boulder back together, rebuilding the houses, and pushing it up the hill again. For the Mets, their boulder was the size of the Armageddon meteor because they had the second highest payroll in the sport. Steve Cohen was at the end of his prediction. When he took over the Mets, he said 3 to 5 years, World Series or bust. Well, this was the end of year 5. Didn't get a World Series, didn't get to the World Series, got to an LCS, but he will be well known and better known for during his period of great depreciation. He spent a ton of money, lost a ton of money, and didn't win a thing. Brought in Juan Soto, added them to their team. Juan Soto, forget how he started. Juan Soto had a year that is not to be believed. Now, we're so busy talking about Aaron Judge and Cal Raleigh and all of the unbelievable things, even Lindor, Alonso, and you're just talking about great seasons. Juan Soto's season. When you sign Juan Soto, you know you're overpaying. You don't pay someone what Juan Soto gets paid and expect to get that value. What you expect is to be and have the possibility of Juan Soto being Juan Soto. And then Juan Soto is that, and now he's stealing bases too. But at the end of the day, the Mets did not build a team that could win. The Mets had suspect starting pitching, and they got exposed by the length of the season. Their starting pitching started off well and ended up badly, and that's how Major League Baseball works. You're going to hear all sorts of talk, including by us tomorrow when we preview the wild card series, when we talk about the playoffs. Today, I want to focus on not playoffs, focus on teams whose season ended. And of course, the reason why the Mets are the most interesting story is everyone says, wait a minute, you spend money, you make the playoffs. Are people talking about Atlanta this morning? I would assume they should be. Are people talking about the Texas Rangers this morning? I assume they should be. Because being in the top 10 in payroll doesn't mean definitionally you're going to be in the playoffs. And that's the thing that makes the union crazy. Do you know how hard the union roots against the Cleveland Guardians? Do you know how hard the union wants the Baltimore Orioles to have the season they had? Do you know how much they needed the Mets to beat the Marlins yesterday so the Cincinnati Reds would not be going to LA to play in a playoff series? The union can't have teams with low payrolls winning. But it's baseball. 12 playoff teams. 6 of the 12 are in the top 10 in payroll. That means 4 of the top 10 didn't make it. 3 of the 12 are in the middle 10. The Cubs, the Mariners, the Tigers, they're in the middle of the market. They're in the middle. They made the playoffs. And then you had 3 teams in the bottom. You want to talk about union angst. The Milwaukee Brewers have the 21st highest payroll, and they've made the playoffs 7 of 8 years. Franchise record in wins, number 1 seed. A nightmare going into collective bargaining. You think the commissioner doesn't go up to the owners and say, salary cap? Salary cap? What do you need that for? Pay attention, all of you teams. All of you teams spending money above your means, thinking that that's going to get you postseason success. How about getting smarter about your decisions? I don't believe there's no correlation between payroll and winning, because payroll gives you an opportunity to cycle through 40 pitchers, to cycle through a million different arms, a million different position players until you find out the best ones, no matter who you're paying. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Dodgers and Yankees win as much as they do. I don't think it's a coincidence the Mets lose as much as they do. The direct correlation with payroll is not what I'm here to discuss. It's what do the Mets do? What do you do when your starting pitching is 27th in the league? That makes sense. Get better starters. What do you do when you have the worst relief, 26th in baseball? Change out your bullpen? These are answers that it doesn't take a genius to figure out. You don't need to be David Stearns. You don't need to be the smartest guy in Harvard, the biggest analytic geek in the world. When something's not working, you change it and try something else. If you're the Mets and you know the collection of players you have put together, regardless of payroll, top-heavy lineup, starting pitching full of number 4, 5, and 6 starters. Are there number 1 starters out there? Can you access them? Are the rookie starters they have in their rotation, all from their draft, is it possible they grow into a stalwart starting rotation, the likes of which got a ring for the Marlins in 2003? The decisions that are made by your baseball people in conjunction with your president, where your owner doesn't get in the way and tends to be additive and not really obstructionist, that's the key to any team. That's the key to the success of any team. There's something inherently wrong with Steve Cohen's Mets that they continue to underperform like this. And for Steve Cohen, listen, is it Carlos Mendoza? If I hear that guy give another interview, hey, it starts with me. Yes, that's page 1 of the manager playbook. I got it. It's true. It does start with you. In my case, it would end with you. And we go on to the next you, and then the next you, and then the next you, and we do it 15 times trying to figure out how to recapture some of the glory days. There is rumors already that David Stearns will not get rid of Carlos Mendoza. There's rumors already that Steve Cohen will not get rid of David Stearns. David Stearns just got there. He needs some time. That's the next message you're going to get from Steve Cohen. Has he tweeted yet, Coca? Since they lost? He's a big tweeter when things are going well, isn't he? Let's go, effing Mets, or let's effing go Mets. Let's go. Feels good, doesn't it? Let's all get to the park. I know Steve Cohen is very worried about and interested in his chop shops and in the casino, but when he looks out at his team and says, wait a minute, how much more patience do I have? And then all of a sudden, 5 years turns into 10. 10 years turns into 15. Trust me, Steve, I've been there. I've done it. You believe in your process so much. You trust your process so much. You believe in your ego that you're right, that you know more just because you're in the position, or just because you have money, or just because whatever it is that you believe you are a part of because you're within Major League Baseball as an owner, or the NBA as an owner. It's all a joke. The extra feelings that we feel of importance, of knowledge, it's a joke. It's pure circumstance. It's pure luck. It's pure damn luck. There's an entire tens of millions of dollars, more, hundreds of millions of dollars that are spent taking luck out of the equation, removing the human element. Let's go to automatic balls and strikes, robot umps. It's not a robot ump. Stop saying that. It's a challenge system for balls and strikes called by a human. It's not a robot ump. For crying out loud, Meatloaf. Analytics departments come out and tell you, Steve Cohen will come out and tell you exactly what went wrong. They'll be able to pinpoint it. They'll have a binder this big prepared by Stearns and all of his people explaining to Steve Cohen what they need to do, where it happened, and not one place in there will they mention the word luck. How can you go 0-70 in games you're down after 8 innings? Who does that? Not one ninth inning comeback? Don't you have a 1/9 chance of scoring in the ninth inning? Do I have that wrong? Oh, no, David, you go against a closer. Guess what? There's guys blowing 100 in the fifth inning now. Don't give that me. That was really good English, wasn't it? 20, 80, 69. Don't try to pass through me and my knowledge that, oh, the ninth inning, David, that's so hard to score runs in the ninth inning. Here's a promise for you Mets fans. You're not going to go 0-70 down 8 in the eighth inning next season. It doesn't mean you're going to make the playoffs next year. It doesn't mean you're going to have a better season. It doesn't mean the free agents you're going to sign are going to be better or worse than the crap you got this year. And by the way, Coca, what is it with Pete Alonso? You couldn't have been happy with Pete Alonso. As a matter of fact, one of the things that Coca whispered in my ear is that he wants to talk Mets, and far be it from me to stop him from exhibiting his frustration as a Mets fan. Although, are you going to complain about the Ravens too? I mean, you just had a terrible weekend in terms of sports, at least. Coca, come here. Come on the show. We never do this. Coca, you're wearing a Mets hat.
Yeah,
You're not watching this on YouTube. You don't see it, but Coca has a Mets hat on.
Yeah, I decided to wear it as punishment. It's like the cone of shame, right? Like I'm the dunce here. I'm the fool for falling for this team. But I told you, I told you 2 months ago that this is what this team was. Like they were just a bunch of losers. That's it. Like nothing changed. Nothing changed. David, they went the 93 games. They had 93 games to prove that they weren't a bunch of losers, and they were. Like from June 13th on, that's the day. It was Friday the 13th. That's where this season ended, when Pete Alonso tried to toss a ball to Kodai Senga covering first base, and it went too high. Senga pulls his hamstring, and that's it. And then it was all downhill from there. But the thing that pissed me off so much about how the season ended, not them not scoring a run against the Marlins and getting shut out in a game that if they won, that they would have gotten into the postseason, or a game that they only got 5 hits in. None of that annoyed me as much as right after the season ends, Pete Alonso comes out and he says, yeah, I'm going to opt out of my contract. I'm going to opt out. Dude, I don't care. I don't care. Like we just lost. We just lost. The season is over. You guys are a bunch of losers. And now you're going to come out and be like, oh, I loved my time as a Met. I hope the Mets re-sign me. Dude, I don't care. You can wait a week. Do it in a week. But right after they lose that game, it to me, it's like, where were your priorities this whole time? If you go out in that game and you hit 4 home runs, I'm like, hell yeah, opt out all you want. You got us to the postseason. But you did none of that.
Coca, is it upsetting to you to know that many people who do their jobs don't care much about their jobs and they care only about themselves? Is this an epiphany to you that there are some baseball players who actually don't care about winning?
Well, it's not about them not caring. It's just that, like, in that moment, you can choose to go 2 different ways. And he went the way of talking about his contract. And then you brought up to me, oh, yeah, who's his agent again? And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
When you have Scott Boras as an agent, let me be clear. What Scott Boras does with his players, he does not in any way say, all right, here's what we want to do with your approach in game 162 against the Marlins. No. What Scott Boras does is he goes to his player and say, listen, let me be clear what we're focused on. We're focused on your next contract. That's why you pay me, and that's why I've got this great campus, because we're going to get 5% of a huge amount of money, Pete, that I couldn't get you last year. And do you remember Garrett Cole? Well, if you do a press conference after the game, Pete, make sure you wear a Boras cap. No Mets cap. We don't want the Mets to think they have any possible advantage whatsoever. But, Scott, I'm so upset. I wanted to win so badly for this city, for this team, for this owner, for these fans. Give me a break. I am truly sorry to all of you fans where players are not thinking of you first or owners are not thinking of you first. I've tried to be honest. Pete Alonso just put it right into your face. So my final thing for you, Coca, is just to tell you, Thank you for coming on just now. And I'm sorry that you're upset, but I would say this, that it is September 29th. And did you know that in only 5 months, that's nothing, 5 months, it's spring training. And you're going to be right back because you are what we call a lifer. There's nothing we can do to make you not be a fan. There aren't many of them, but when they happen, you're ignored. Your feelings are ignored, Coca, with reckless indifference. Because we'll see you in spring training when you once again root for the Mets. Now, the Mets are an interesting case as they go forward because their view is they're in the prime right now. They've got Juan Soto and they've got Lindor, and they just feel good about their team in theory. I wonder whether the Astros, what they're feeling today, because they did not make the playoffs for the first time since before their dynasty started in 2016. That's how long it's been. That's how good they've been. They traded Kyle Tucker and everything was looking great for them, but then Seattle got super hot. Houston did not, and Houston got caught in the wild card and by the Guardians and Tigers, and it was done. That was it. Houston wakes up this morning with very, very interesting decisions to make because acknowledging the reality that your dynasty is over absolutely sucks. When you've had this window of greatness. Now, what we do is we have windows that open, windows that close, and trying to time the open windows, the closed windows. We want to be good when the ballpark opens. Then we're going to be bad. We'd like to be good again around an all-star game. You're always trying to time your windows, expand your windows, your open windows. But when you have a dynasty that includes multiple World Series championships, and then you wake up and look in the mirror and realize that it's done, you've got two choices you can make. You can chase that feeling again immediately, or you can go back to what gave you that feeling to start with. If you recall what gave the Astros their dynasty, go back and you will see a string of 100-loss seasons. You will see a bunch of number ones who paid off and formed the core of this championship dynastic run. It's really hard to go back to that as an owner or president. It's probably super hard to do it as a fan base. Except, what if they do it right again? As a fan, let's just take the Mets as an example. If you had to suffer through 300-loss seasons in a row to have a run like the Astros have had since 2017 to now, every fan of every team would take it. I don't care what you tell me. You're just lying to yourself. 3 seasons, lose a hundo, get 2 championships, be in the playoffs every year, lose in the World Series a couple times. Are you kidding? Sign me up this second. It'll be interesting to note what Jim Crane does as owner of the Astros, because that feeling that Jim Crane has this morning with no baseball to be played in October for the first time since 16, your first instinct is to say, I need that feeling back right now. I need that another hit of that drug right now. Do something that gets that to me as soon as possible. Fighting that. 7 straight trips to the ALCS. There's no way I'm going back. And that's how you end up in a race to the middle and how you end up mediocre for years in a row. And then the years turn into a decade. And then that turns into 2 decades. The Houston Astros would be well served to start over completely in the way they showed they would be willing to all those years ago. Are they going to do that, Coca? No chance. There's no chance because I know Jim Crane. And I know that feeling. And that feeling, that addiction, it is so strong. And then he'll look back at this moment. This is the day. We all have a day in our careers, a day. September 29th will be the day Jim Crane looks back and chose to go left when he'll realize he should have gone right. Congratulations to them, though. How do you not congratulate the Astros for what they've accomplished? You can talk garbage cans all you want. You can talk sign stealing. Fine, don't care. It's absolute success, no matter how you slice it. Congratulations to my friends in Toronto. And by the way, a quick note to Jeff Blair, Kevin Barker, to Mark Miller and David Moulton, and shows that I do on a consistent basis where I've disappeared for a couple of weeks. To the people at CBS, to of course Metalark, and of course DraftKings. I had disappeared. The thing in Toronto, you did win your division. You needed that win against the Rays. Do you know that teams decide who they're going to help and who they're not? We pretend we don't, but we do. Do you know the Rays, of course, had a conversation is, do we want to beat the Blue Jays or not? Do we want to help the Yankees or do we not? If the Rays had beaten the Blue Jays yesterday, much like if the Mets had beaten the Marlins, there'd be a different scenario. The Jays were playing for a bye and the AL East crown. The Rays had an opportunity to beat the Jays and therefore help the Yankees win the division and get the bye. It 100% comes up in conversation. That sounds so petty, so mean, so terrible, but it's just so true. Yes, we sit down when we're eliminated from the playoffs and try to figure out who we can screw. Yes, there are teams that we compete with that we don't like. We don't want them to be successful, but then we say we do because we're all partners. People are saying, why wouldn't the Rays be more helpful to the Yankees when the Yankees gave them their spring training place to play all year? Trust me, never once came up. And it's not because the Rays have a new owner. Well, the new owner may want to be friendly with Hal Steinbrenner. Nah, this is old, embedded Ray behavior. Doing a favor for the Yankees if you're the Tampa Bay Rays. Here's the favor I'll do. I'll take your revenue sharing money and then I'll beat you. That's my thank you for the revenue sharing money. So the Blue Jays end up winning the game. They win the AL East. They will now play the winner of the Yankees and Red Sox, who have to play a wild card series in New York. Best 2 out of 3 straight days. And when you think about what the Yankees were able to do by finishing that regular season on the kick they finished it on, I think they won 14 out of the last 17 games. They're on an 8-game winning streak. They were at the depths of Hades, at the gates of a terrible, terrible season. Firings galore. And then it changed. And then they got hot. And baseball is the harshest sport of all because you can be hot. And if you run into Garrett Crochet and he shoves it the way he does, you can be out before you can open your eyes and say, holy crikeys, it's Wednesday at 9:30. And that could be it. We could be 62 hours away from the Yankee season ending, and believe me, they would not consider it a success. Let me tell you something else, Coca, that I wasn't going to talk about. The whole thing about counting postseason appearances and counting success. Inside a clubhouse, it's very different than what we say publicly. All 12 teams in the playoffs, 11 of them are going to get eliminated, and 11 of them are going to say, hey, we didn't get to where we wanted to get to. We didn't finish the job, and we'll look back and be proud of what we accomplished, but understanding that we didn't get to the final, which, of course, there's only one team which does, and that's the team that wins the World Series. The thing is, that's not how we think. The losers of these wild card rounds They'll come out with a happy face and saying, oh, tough break, short series, ran into good pitching. Otani, Betts and Freeman went 1 for 20. Remember when the Dodgers lost in a quick series to the Diamondbacks? But what you're really saying is this is absolute crap. And you call the commissioner and say, we can't do 2 out of 3 series. We need at least 3 out of 5. It's got to be 4 out of 7. We have to be able to have a playoff run that lasts at least a hot second after going through the grind of 162. Will that change in the new collective bargaining agreement when the season shortens and playoffs expand? Will it expand in games or rounds or teams? Everybody wants the chance to get through October. You can't get the chance unless you get to October. And the focus is, do you win the division? Do you play the wild card? Do we want to be the bye team or not? How do we be a bye team? Like Seattle, the Seattle Mariners are playing scrimmages and they're giving tickets away to get fans in to make sure there's an atmosphere. Is it true that when you have a bye team, you lose your rhythm and then you lose to the team that wins the wild card round? Let's examine the stats, but there's only 5 years or 15 years. Here's how it goes in baseball. That's all just noise. And we try to solve for the noise by trying different things to stay ready, to stay hot, to be hot, to say that our scenario is the better one if we win. Our scenario was the worst one if we lose. It's just plain the result. In baseball, this month that you're about to witness starting tomorrow is all about luck, circumstance, and an amount of heat that you don't expect. Not temperature. A player who just gets hot and has one of those periods of time. A pitcher, a bullpen, a scenario where a ball drops or a ground ball gets through or a strikeout doesn't happen or does happen. All of these things will combine and will end with a World Series champion. And what the other teams are stuck doing is saying, oh, what's the reason we were not the beneficiary of that luck? A concept I've been thinking about a lot recently. Why would my luck have run out? Why would her luck have run out? Why would our luck have run out? What causes that? As I told you first hour, there's some questions that can't be answered, and that lack of control is frustrating to me. It's also frustrating to the people who build teams because you're always trying to then change what you're doing. Move out pieces, move in pieces. Change it because if you're not changing, you're failing. If you're not changing, you have no chance to grow. I get all of those expressions. But right now, you look at the AL East and you say to yourself, oh, Toronto, Yankees, Red Sox, they're all in it. Orioles, is my window closed or not? Rays, will I ever have another open window? Where will I get the ballpark? Every team's got questions every year, but we focus on our team. The way Coca did, saying, oh, the Mets are losers, they stink. Guess what? There's 18 fan bases having the same conversation today. You're just one of them. The Marlins can take whatever team photo they want. They can celebrate getting rid of the Mets, which I've done. You can do all that, and then 5 minutes later, you are saying to yourself, God, did I screw it up? What a loser. What do I do? It doesn't matter when. It's so ridiculous. 29 out of 30 teams will call themselves losers. And the one team that wins will say, oh, now we got to focus on what we have to change to get back and go through that same gauntlet again. The other thing you're going to read about now, Coca, that I love this part. All the preseason predictions. Do you know that we have a website, davidsamsonpodcast.com, and we have a document, it's a tracking document that you can find, which has top 100 movies. It has my picks of the day. Oh, Coca, we have to do a pick today. And it has word of the day, etc. There's another tab in that document that's open to the public that has MLB predictions because Coke and I make predictions before the season starts, and we're accountable for those predictions once the season ends. I would like to point out to you that Coke and I can't say we did great. I just can't say it. But we'll go through it. Maybe not today. But what I will tell you is Alex Cora got something very, very wrong. Alex Cora came out with a quote after the Red Sox clinched. And he said, nobody thought we were going to make it to October. Whoever says they did, that's an effing BS. It was New York, Toronto, and Baltimore. We believed we were going to play in October, and we hit our standards. Alex, Booby, my man, are you forgetting about nothing personal? Are you forgetting about what I said about the Red Sox from the start? Because may I remind you, may I please remind you that I had the Red Sox winning the pennant before the season started. Now, I didn't get it right, but my World Series matchup can still happen. Red Sox, Dodgers. Didn't get every playoff team right. That's for sure. Where art thou, Kansas City? However, my belief in Boston was strong, and the day they traded Rafael Devers was the day that I knew I nailed it. Because all of you were saying, oh, heavenly God, the Red Sox stink. John Henry's a moron. Craig Breslau doesn't know what he's talking about. Remember when he said we're going to be better off? Well, guess where the Giants are right now? They're licking their 81-81 wounds. And guess where the Red Sox are? They're in New York at the team hotel right now. They may travel today, actually. No, they're going to work out today. I would assume they came to New York last night. If they're smart, they would have come right from their last game. I may be wrong, but that's what we would have done. It's what we did do. I had a thought here, Coca. I don't know what we were just talking about. Wow. We were just talking about the Red Sox. Oh, Cora, Red Sox? I think I finished my thought. That we predicted it. Craig Breslau. Thank you. Do you remember when Devers' trade happened and he said, no, we're going to be better off? And then the Giants started not playing well, and Devers, while he did play 163 games, first player to do that since Justin Morneau in 2008. Big whoop. Giants are still 1 of 18 right now, home. Red Sox, they did it. They qualified for the postseason. They're in the postseason. They are deserving of the postseason. They're deserving of the benefit of the doubt that next time, and it's a guarantee you won't do it. Why? Because we're all human. What's wrong with giving him the benefit of the doubt? What does it take to earn the benefit of the doubt? Signing Chapman? Not enough. You sure? Signing Bregman? Not enough. You sure? Trading Devers? You sure that's still not enough? You still don't believe? Are you the type of person who thinks that the Red Sox would have won the division if they'd kept Devers? Well, I'm here to tell you the Red Sox would have been 1 of 18 if they'd kept Devers, just like the Giants are with Devers. The Red Sox have an opportunity now. If you're the Yankees, you are concerned. Not just because the Red Sox have done well against the Yankees, though lost 3 out of the last 4. Not just because the Red Sox do well at Yankee Stadium, though not in the last series. But the reality is, in a short series, there is no favorite. That's the crazy part of the randomness of baseball and the beauty of baseball. But Alex, don't you ever say again, don't you say it that no one believed in you. I did. I had zero belief in the Cleveland Guardians. When you sell at the deadline and have players who are suspended for gambling, you sort of think the season's over, don't you? And it's Cleveland, so people don't pay attention. Imagine if New York had gone on the run that Cleveland went on and caught the Tigers the way Cleveland caught the Tigers and won the AL Central. It's incredible. The Cleveland Guardians were 15 and a half games back on July 8th. It's over. It's done. That's the largest divisional deficit ever overcome in MLB history. And the Tigers, ironically, because of expanded playoffs, weren't even kicked out of the playoffs. They just lost the division. And now the irony is, the only difference is that they still play a wild card round. They're just on the road instead of at Comerica. That is a tough, crazy part about the sport that we talked about in meetings often. Think about the effort to win a division, but if you don't get the first round bye, you're a division winner with the worst record of the division winners. That's the Dodgers in the National League. That is the Guardians in the American League. That means you're playing the wild card round. You spent your whole year trying to win a division in order to host a 2 out of 3 in a sport where home field advantage is actually the least meaningful. That's scary. September records matter, and being caught, it's not great for the Tigers that they went 7-17. In September, it's not great they got caught by the Guardians, but what does it actually mean? All it actually means is they're on the road now. Congratulations to the Guardians. Do you know, Coca, all the fans out there, when we choose to sell or buy at the deadline, when we're buying at the deadline, we're trying to make a good team great. We're trying to keep our position or improve our position. When we sell at the deadline, it's acknowledging that we want to save money because we don't believe that our position is either sustainable or that we have a chance to change our position. So we make the moves. But then on August 1st, when you go into the clubhouse, or July 31st, if you have a game that night, you go into the clubhouse, you look at your team and you say, you know what? You guys can do it. When you're the Guardians and you go into your clubhouse and you look and you see Jose Ramirez, you're seeing, hey, we've got one of the best players, like a top 5 player in the entire sport. Ever. Maybe ever. That's how good Jose Ramirez is. With him, why can't we win? How about one of you, Gavin? Can you get hot? Can you be an ace? And all of a sudden, you win, you win, you win. Look at the Diamondbacks. They traded Naylor, Merrill Kelly. God, they traded everybody. Suarez, Eugenio Suarez. And they got eliminated like 2 days ago. Don't give up. Don't be as miserable as Coca is. You have an opportunity to be different. You can appreciate your team. You can appreciate the moments that you have. Trust me, appreciating moments that you have has taken on a new meaning. It always takes it on when you don't have many moments. And all of a sudden you look back and say, I should have enjoyed more moments. We all say it. None of us do it. Try to change.
Speaking of being a miserable fan, let me tell you about the Baltimore Ravens. Another one of my teams that is just a massive joke. Huge expectations, a massive, massive joke. Okay, now on to your baseball predictions.
Okay. Are you saying 1-3? Come back here, Coca. I don't want you to leave so fast. Lamar Jackson gets hurt. He hurts his hamstring. They lose a game to the Chiefs, who were like the Chiefs of old yesterday, where they just looked unbeatable. And you're saying to yourself, because the defense stinks, the offense is problematic, that a 1-3, they have not made it to a Super Bowl, but yet Lamar Jackson is the best quarterback in the league, should have won the MVP last year. Have you now given up as the season's done at 1-3? Is that where your head is?
It's over.
Oh my God.
Season's over.
Stop it.
Season's over.
You have to have hope. You have to have faith. You have to believe, Coca.
No, it's all about being realistic. And I'm realistic in knowing that with John Harbaugh as the head coach of this football team, they will not win another Super Bowl.
For 2 weeks, you've been telling me to not be that way and to have hope. So now explain this to me, Coca, that how it is that you now are saying it is terrible. You have to be pragmatic, realistic, and you can't have hope.
Yeah, you got that right. For me at least. When it comes to sports, I have this hat here, this Mets hat, and I forgot to show it before, but World Series 1986. That's it. There's only one patch on this hat, just one. I wasn't even born.
That's not accurate. They were in the World Series in 01. They were in the World Series in 15.
Yeah, they didn't win it. The Ravens won the Super
Bowl.
Bowl.
About the winning patch.
The Ravens won the Super Bowl in 2012 with John Harbaugh, and then ever since then, they just feel as if that they can't move on from him as a coach. You know, it's the same thing with the Steelers and Mike Tomlin. They just feel like they're good enough each year to be considered some sort of contender, but then they fall short of those expectations, and then no change happens. and it's just year after year after year of the same thing that comes out there. So it's just Lamar Jackson running around. Lamar Jackson, when you watch him play, every game, there's a bunch of plays where you're like, Lamar Jackson is the only player in the NFL who can make that play. We shouldn't be seeing those plays. He shouldn't be running around in circles 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage trying to make a play, and then he ultimately does. That's why there's all these mistakes. So yesterday, he makes this great play. He runs, and then his offensive lineman knocks the ball out of his hands. It's a turnover. It's a fumble. The Chiefs get the ball on the short field, score a touchdown. And it's just like that's what we have come to expect. So it's like when they fall short in the playoffs, still no change happens. It's a leadership problem with this team, and they need a new voice in there, and they need something different. But until that happens, it's whatever. It's whatever.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Coca, who on a random Monday, not so random, is in mid-season form with his football and his baseball. I'm going to go back to something. The follow-up, we're never going to stop doing. You know that we do wait to sees, and we tell you when we got them wrong, and we have a bunch of wait to sees following this baseball season to go over. And each month of the baseball season, we made predictions about what would happen. And we did it early in September, and I want to be accountable for it. So I want to tell you that I predicted that Cal Raleigh would not hit 60 home runs this season. Nope. I got that one wrong. Cal Raleigh did end the season with 60 home runs. He led the league with 125 RBI. What a season for the catcher for the Mariners. And I had said to you that if Cal Raleigh gets to 60 home runs and Seattle catches Houston, both of which I don't think will happen, if that happens, how can you have Cal Raleigh not as the MVP? And here I am on a Monday telling you that Cal Raleigh did hit 60, Seattle did catch Houston, and I don't think Cal Raleigh can be the MVP because that's how good Aaron Judge was. I didn't think it was possible for Aaron Judge to have a season where I'd be able to look into the minds of voters and say that Raleigh will not get enough support. And it's not East Coast bias. It's the reality that the Yankees, when you have Aaron Judge win the batting title, hitting .330, hits 54 home runs, not 60, have an OPS over 1,140, blowing away everybody else, you say to yourself, that's MVP. And it is. As a matter of fact, Coca, everybody is debating, what are the current DraftKings odds right now? I would assume that Raleigh and Judge, they've gone back and forth, favored, dogs favored. Last I looked, they were both minus 115. Now that the season's over, I'd be interested to know. I would assume Judge has a slight edge, maybe at minus 150 or 160, though I don't know. But I'm going to do an official wait to see here on the MVP in the American League. The National League, obvious. It's Ohtani. We don't even have to talk about that, which we will talk about Ohtani tomorrow. But Aaron Judge is my MVP. Aaron Judge will win the MVP, the kind of season he had. He deserves it. But I predicted Cal Raleigh would not hit 60. Got it wrong. I also told you there'd be no division lead changes because September rarely has division lead changes. So here's who was leading the division on September 1. Dodgers, they win it 1-for-1. Brewers, hell yeah, 2-for-2. Franchise record 97, way to go. Phillies, 3-for-3. Blue Jays, 4-for-4. This is outstanding. Detroit Tigers, oh, not exactly. Houston Astros, oi. There were 2 division lead changes in September. That's 33% of the divisions changed in September. So I got that wrong. I told you that MLB would not talk about the Cleveland Guardians pitchers who got put on administrative leave, that is done being talked about. Got that one right. And the last prediction I had was a tough one, very tough one. We were talking bullpen. Do you remember at the trade deadline when the Yankees and the Mets both bolstered their bullpens? And I told you that with the Mets, what they did with their bullpen, getting Helsley and Rogers, the Yankees getting Duvall and Bednar, and I said, hey, the Yankees will have a better bullpen ERA than the Mets in the month of September. You'd think I got it right because the Mets had such a crappy September, and you'd think the Yankees, who had an unbelievable September. We just told you they won 14 of the last 17. That's a simple prediction to get right. Nope. Do you know the Yankees bullpen ERA in September was over 5? And that the Mets bullpen ERA was under 4? Do you know how important starting pitching is? You know because you watch Nothing Personal. Starting pitching matters. Stop believing the analytics and the ridiculousness. You have to have starting pitching. And the Yankees have it and the Mets don't. That's why the Yankees are playing and the Mets aren't. But my September prediction was wrong. I want to go through right now a couple of things that you should note that I told you would happen during the course of the season, because these were wait to season predictions that I had. I told you Marcus Stroman would not pitch 140 innings. Do you remember Marcus Stroman? On February 12th, I said no matter what, the Yankees will not let his option vest. Screw it, they DFA'd him. That's the end of that. Marcus Stroman, yeah, we got that right. I also told you that Anthony Rendon won't last the season. He's going to get designated by the Angels. I got it half right. He missed the entire season, and the Angels said, screw it, why designate him? So they didn't. So that's not fair that I got that wrong, Coca. That was on February 13th. How about all the over-unders I gave you? I didn't forget about them. I told you that the Dodgers would win more than 103.5 games. How did I do? They didn't win 100. Got that wrong. People thought the Athletics would be terrible just because they were in Sacramento. No. We said over 71.5. Got it right. I thought the Diamondbacks would be way better. Who knew they'd trade everyone and yet still be competitive? But I thought they'd win 87 games. They didn't. I told you the Mets stunk and they'd go under 90.5, and they did. I thought the Yankees would not make the playoffs. I did not think that Rodon would have the season he had of 195 innings. I didn't think Fried would be able to be the ace in the absence of Cole. I didn't think the Yankees would perform or that Jazz would be the player he was. I thought the Yankees would go under 89.5 wins. Got it wrong. And then, of course, I told you the White Sox wouldn't win any games. But they did. Now, they still lost over 100 games, don't get me wrong, but their over-under was 53.5. I took the under, got it wrong. I went 2-4 my over-unders. That is not acceptable, Coca. Do you remember when on March 28th, Jackson Chourio struck out 5 times? I said that wouldn't happen again. It didn't. I told you that Justin Verlander would get designated by the Giants. Said that in April. That didn't happen. I told you Jock Peterson would get designated by the Rangers. That didn't happen. That was on May 6th. I told you the Rockies would lose over 121 games. How did they not? That didn't happen. I did tell you in May that Minnesota wouldn't make the postseason. That did happen. And then in August, when all of you Mets fans were all excited about Tyler Rogers, I told you his ERA would be higher with the Mets than it was with the Giants. Trust me, it can't stay that low. And of course, I was right about that one. It's hard to get preseason predictions right, Coca. But since we're doing it, we got to get back to the pick of the day. Keep going with Nothing Personal picks of the day. We're 123 and 121. We've got 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. I'm focused on one of them. With all apologies to my friends in Miami, and I appreciate all of you these last 2 weeks more than you know. And going forward, the Jets are getting 2.5 points from the Dolphins. And I got to tell you, I've been watching the Dolphins. I've been watching the Jets. I think it could be one of those fabulous 6-3 games, unless it's going to be one of those 42-39 games. Either way, I'd rather get the points than give the points when you're dealing with 2 teams that are this bad. And if you're not happy, you can watch the second Monday night game that's playing basically an hour later with the Bengals and the Broncos without Joe Burrow or John Elway. But the pick specifically will be the Jets plus 2.5. Thank you for your time today, and we will be back tomorrow. It's just business. This has been Nothing Personal.